Hello everyone, Brian Foster here, A&B Fishing Lure. It's about my 5th or 6th time to try this video. I said I was going to start doing videos about, fishing and discussing fishing lures and techniques and stuff I like to do. And we're going to make one tonight about dead sticking. Like I say, it's about my 5th or 6th time. Can't seem to get it right, but anyways, it's I want to kind of go over dead sticking. I've had several people ask me about what is dead sticking, how do I dead stick, what's some of the type of lures we use, how do we do it, why is it so popular. And I just want to recommend several videos on YouTube. I noticed there's some by the Department of Wildlife. I know it's like Oklahoma Department of Wildlife. Several different guides have put out videos over the years on YouTube. A few years ago when I myself was like, man, what's dead sticking? I really kind of heard about it and was like, man, I need to try this. What is it? How do we do it? I myself got on YouTube and started watching videos. I was like, I need to try this. Went out to my local lake and we tried it. Swim baits, large swim baits actually. Tried it for hybrid bass and quite a bit of success. Kind of turned into a thing. Then went off to Texoma and tried it on the striper, and kind of over the last few years really learned what dead sticking was and really focused on it hard this year with the lure making. Along the past few years it's kind of I'm focused a lot on jig heads and swim baits and stuff like that. And this fall we really got some molds made, kind of tried a few different ones out over the summer of what I like, kind of decided how I wanted my mold made. Got with a mold maker and we made some molds, and now here we are, we're making flukes for dead sticking. But really, in all reality, you can dead stick several different type of lures. You're in a transitional period really over the last month from throwing swim baits, rather also be using live bait, to using flukes now. And a lot of times you can still do it with swim baits. Like I say, we first started out, we were using large 5-inch swim baits. We were using sassy shad. They're very popular. It's still kind of a popular time of the year is you're following the gulls, you're following the birds, getting under them, seeing where the bait balls are. It's usually where the striper are located. So really basically what dead sticking is holding your rod still. Basically treating your rod, we use this rod right here for example, as a dead stick. You got a hold of it, you're holding it as you're either drifting, you're sitting still, and it's basically just a dead stick. That's all it really is. And what you're after is trying to feel for a bite. You want a good fast action rod. Really, I like a rod that's got a backbone to it but has some action in it. I want to be able to feel them bites. Much like crappie fishing, you're sitting there, you got a jig, and you're just waiting for that tap to set it. It's basically kind of the same thing. You're gonna suspend your lure basically above where you're marking your fish. This time of the year, you're gonna be anywhere 20, 30, sometimes 40 foot. You're gonna have schools, sometimes just single fish here and there, kind of working the calm. You wanna suspend your lure right above them fish. Your striper, your hybrid bass, a lot of them species, they feed upwards. You're chasing your fish, and you're going after the bait, and you just want to get that lure right above them because they're going after it upwards. Basically, kind of one of my ways I figure that out is I do say 15 pulls. Say the fish are sitting right there 20, 30 foot. I know this is 2 foot, almost a pull. I'll go 15 pulls. You can kind of go like that. I know a lot of people in the past, it's popular to use line counters. I just found the technique of doing line pulls. You got some good electronics. You can generally see where your lure's getting. That's kind of a big thing. So that's basically kind of what dead sticking is. Just holding your rod still. I know we all have the urge a lot of times to put our rod in the rod holders along the boat, more rods you got out, the more chances of fish. And it works. Sometimes you get some hard-hitting fish. You'll get one or two on, but your chances of pulling in good fish, really just filling the cooler full of fish, is holding that rod still. You want to feel that bite. As soon as you feel that tap, it's going to be a light tap sometimes. A lot of times as the water gets colder, sometimes they feed differently. Your taps might be getting stronger, but as soon as you feel that, set it. Sometimes when you first learn, you're first doing it, you'll miss a lot of fish. A lot of fish you'll get right to the boat. You'll lose them, just not hooking right. But over time, you'll learn to just really set it hard. A lot can have to do with your hooks too. But I know I like to use a lot of ultra sharp hooks, something to really set good, something that I won't lose a fish. Got a good barb. Let's say a lot of guides, different people I've fished with, people all over the lake. They have different techniques, different ways you can do it, but that's basically what dead sticking is. I'll kind of get into equipment real quick. Kind of maybe some of the baits. Let's go over baits real quick first. Of course, I've started making 5-inch flukes. These are a solid body fluke, like that. This is a pearl, almost like a clear pearl. It's got a dyed tail. Really popular color, of course, is bubblegum. You want a lot of action in your tail. It's kind of the main thing. This is a chartreuse one. There's all kinds of different colors out there. White works good. It's a good solid pearl. Flashy colors. Sometimes that pearl with a dip, like a chartreuse tail, that's really kind of popular. Those are 5 inches. A lot of times the bite's really subtle, or trim them down. You can cut a 1/2 inch off of them, make them a little bit shorter. You can try different things. I know like Zoom, there's a lot of different flukes out there. You got a lot of split bodies. There's different things you can try. I like a solid body fluke, excuse me. I like a solid body fluke, something that won't rip. I want to be able to catch a lot of fish. So, if I catch 10, 20 fish on a fluke, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing good, I don't want one that's going to rip easy. I don't want one that's going to rip after one fish. That's kind of a big, important thing to me. So that's kind of my opinion. Swim baits, sassy shad, you can drift those too. They work. We've just really refined the technique to flukes. I just started making this swim bait here. It works real good. Anything with a lot of tail action, you're gonna be drifting. You're gonna be moving really slow with the boat in a current. You want something with a lot of action. We'll kind of go to jig heads real quick. This is a very popular jig head. A lot of people they like a solid color. It's kind of something new I started making. I call it my mojo head. Got a lot of glitter on it. It's real shiny. Get some light. Super attractive for the fish. Got a super sharp hook. It's got 2 barbs on it. It'll hold your fluke, whatever you're kind of slinging at them. It'll hold it on there really well. So usually, generally 1.5 ounce to 2 ounces. It's kind of you want a jig head that'll keep that fluke pretty low, right below the boat. You don't want something that's gonna drift way off from the boat. You want to kind of stay with your drift, stay with where you are. You want to also get that lure down there fast. You want to get it down there where the fish are. You start marking the fish. You want to bring it right above them. Here's a pink one. Same jig head. It's just pink, hot pink. Pink's probably the most popular color out there. Chartreuse is really popular. I kind of favor pink. I kind of normally have several different ones out, kind of see what they're hitting the most. It's the same with the flukes, I'll rig them up. I'll rig up a rod or two and try it for a little bit with bubblegum or pink, and try some with like a pearl or, with white. Kind of see what they're hitting that day, and we'll kind of switch it up to that. Another jig head that I make that I like, and I actually really probably like this one the most. It's really popular with me. And I hadn't really hit popularity with anyone else, but it's something. It's just a big round ball jig head. The reason why I like it is it's got a collar here, and it's got one barb right here. We can make these up to 3 ounces. I just like it because it has one barb. Even on a solid body fluke, it won't hardly ever damage the fluke. You got the collar here. The fluke seems to stay on the jig head really well. It's something I like. Of course, make it about any color. Pink's pretty popular. This is another one that I rig up quite often. This is a 1.5 ounce, 1.5 or 2 ounces. It's pretty common on it, but it's called the Chub Head. It's got one barb right here also. Again, won't hardly tear up your fluke. You can rig that fluke up to it, and it'll last multiple fish. Won't rip. Just very good jig head. I kind of like the way it's shaped. The only drawback is it's a little bit longer, so you'll a lot of times your bigger fish, you'll draw your bigger fish to it. You can, like I said earlier, you can always cut down your fluke a little bit. If you use a lot of like zoom flukes and split body flukes, and it's kind of popular with what you like to use, these are great. Won't rip them up near as easy. So of course there's all kinds of jig heads out there. A lot of people like different ones, screw lock. There's several different types of ways to go, but that's just basically what I use. Like I say, you can kind of see one rigged up right here on this rod. This is a 2 ounce bubble gum pearl with a chartreuse dip tail. I use a lot of 2 ounce. I like a good drift on the boat. So I like a fluke that'll stay with the boat, stay under the boat. I don't want if I'm dropping it down to 30 foot and I start drifting, I don't want it to come up to 10 foot. I want to really keep that fluke underneath the boat. It's kind of a big thing with me. That way, when I see the fish, I'm right there with them. So that's kind of the gist of that. Like I said, you can use swim baits. A lot of times you got to get a little bit bigger head. That's only a 1 ounce jig head right there, but they work also. Yeah, next thing I'll get to, let's go to kind of our rods real quick. This here is a kind of what I use a lot of times with my customers and stuff. Fairly priced, not getting a real expensive market, but it's the Ugly Stick Big Water. This is a medium action rod, or a medium rod. I got a fast action. It's got some backbone to it. It's got a good rod seat, real seat to it. It's got a good flexibility here. I like that flexibility. I like to be able to feel them subtle hits by the striper. I pair it up with a Shimano Cardiff reel. These reels, I've just had really good luck with them. I know they're probably not as popular. You don't see a lot of people using them. I know a real popular reel out there, of course, is the Abu 6500s. See a lot of those out there, but I used to use a lot of Shimano Calcuttas in the 400B. I like having a line or a clicker. Sometimes I do set one down, getting a fish off over here. I set it here, and next thing you know, you got that one going off. So I do like a clicker on mine. These just seem to really last me. Just my personal preference. I'm rigging them up with a big handle. Say you don't have to. About any reel work. I buy the cheap Berkley Big Game 30-pound test line. That's what I use a lot of times. Something I learned from another guy this year was rig up a swivel. Just use a barrel swivel right here. Make about an 18 to 24 inch leader. It seems like it gets a little bit more action into it. I kind of like it. Re-rigged a lot of stuff doing it. You don't see it very often, but it's something I tried, I like, and probably kind of keep doing it. But there's that. That's a really good rod to use. I also like the Striper Stealth rods by Catch the Fever. I use a lot of their rigging for my live bait setups. Generally the same price point, very good rod. A medium or medium light, they have a lot more backbone to a lot of rods you're gonna find, so you could probably go to a medium light on them for dead sticking. So it's another one, another popular rod, you know, you can find in a lot of the stores, Academy, so on, is a Falcon. These Falcon rods, this is a heavy action rod, but it still has a lot of action in the tip. Sometimes different rod manufacturers are a little bit different, but I like a lot of action on my tip. That's very important to me. But I have this one paired with a Shimano Cardiff reel also. But there's that. You can also, a lot of people like bait casters. Bait casting is a very popular setup. This here is a 6-gill Cypress rod. I like 6-gill rods. They're kind of a little bit in the more medium to cheaper price range for those. They run a lot of deals throughout the year on their rods. A lot of buy one get one, so you can get you several rods. They got several ones that they release. Reels are pretty good too. I like their reels, but this one here is a heavy power. For dead sticking, I would probably go more to like a medium heavy. This one's just a little bit stiff in the tip, but still works pretty good. I have a bubble gum jig head set up on this one. If I can get it off here. But got a bubblegum fluke with the round ball, pink, hot pink head. You can actually see several bite marks down the side of it. Caught several striper on this one. I like it a lot. Got braid set up on this one. I run braid with a leader. A lot of people don't like that, but something I like. I think sometimes in different conditions, you don't want the fish to be able to see the line. It's just a preference for me. I like a good Andy leader, 18, 24-inch leader. Works real good. But my braid, I had a lot of people over time ask me, hey, what braid do you like? I like the Power Pro V2 Super Slick. It's kind of pricey. Some people like the Cast King, some different brands like that. You know, they all work for different applications, but that's just kind of what I use. Done some spinning setups over here. For the reels, my spinning reels, I like a lot of the Pin Battle 2, 4000. I got these set up on a spinning setup. Spinning setups are a little bit tougher with dead sticking. Sometimes I like it. It's a little bit different type of fishing. A little bit more, you have to be ready. You have a little bit more function as far as your, just a little bit more. It's a little bit different style, but I definitely recommend going with a bait cast setup or a open face reel. It's very easy. Just hold it. Anyways, so that's kind of that. That's some of the products I like to use, some of the things I like to try. Let's kind of go with what you need to do in your boat. You know, what's your next step? Getting your boat out there. As it gets colder, you know, we're working away from structure. We're getting more into channels, river channels, creek channels, things like that. A lot of the fish are moving inside the channels. They're getting out of the river channels. They're moving the balls of shad. That's kind of the big thing. So you want to find a good drift. You want to do a lot of drifting, of course. Sometimes, like I said, get a dead calm day. You can just basically sit over a school. But wind is a very kind of an important thing. I know we always grew up, or we've always said, man, there's no wind today. Let's go fishing. Man, it's really calm outside today. Man, let's go fishing, you know. But excuse me. But with strapper fishing, really we want a little bit of wind. You know, being out on the water. You know, you really want to dress warm, wear some good clothes. something good, block the wind. Very important because you do want a little bit of wind. That 5 mile an hour all the way up to about 12, 15. It's a good wind speed. You want a good little drift. A lot of times you want to drift with the channel, kind of work your way out. You want a good side scan on your electronics, some good down scan, side scan, kind of works to see where the fish are. Kind of position yourself almost like, if you're sitting in an anchor and you see the fish here, I'm gonna anchor up right here so that way that current brings me right here. It's kind of very similar, really. You find that channel, you kind of find your bait, even if it's a flat, you find your bait, you find a striper that are chasing them balls of bait, or you just find you find all your striper just stacked up, they're schooled up. Get in front of them balls or them schools of striper, or, get in front of the shad, because a lot of times they're gonna be right behind them shad. Get up there, get in front, and start you a drift. Drift sock's very important. You don't want your boat just going all the way across the lake, over a mile an hour or nothing. I really like a good drift speed, about a half to, say, 3/4 mile per hour. Something kind of slow and steady. Start you a good drift. Work right over that school of shad, or school of shad and striper, and kind of work through there. Kind of important. You can also use your trolling motor. Say you get a really slow day, there's no wind. Them days can be really tough. And sometimes we're leaving the dock and we're like, man, there's gonna be no wind today. This is like 2 mile an hour. You're out there and it's like glass. It's like, man, I can't catch no fish. A lot of that is, you want a little bit of action in your lure. You want that fluke, you want that soft plastic to just slightly move in the water. It's kind of an important thing. So, sometimes you gotta use your trolling motor. Put your trolling motor down. If you have an auto deploy or you have a manual trolling motor, stick it in the water. Maybe move it up to 2 or 3 on your setting. Kick it on. Move your boat about 10, 15 feet. Kind of kick it off and just let your boat kind of troll and drift on its own a little bit. Just hold that rod real steady. That little bit of action right there, a lot of times will draw them fish in. That's one thing. A lot of times we call it strolling or lightly trolling. So if you get a dead calm day, I kind of recommend that. If you can use a trolling motor, use your splasher. We're noticing a lot this year that thumpers are scaring a lot of fish away. We like thumpers. A lot of times, as it gets colder and they school up more, we'll use a thumper more to get the fish under the boat. Probably in my next video, I'll kind of show what like splashers and thumpers and kind of go over that. But anyways, if you haven't ever heard of it, Bobo, he makes a good thumper. Several people have tried to make their own thumpers. A lot of times we'll sit there at the bait net or our landing net and hit the side of the boat and use that. That's some kind of tools of the trade, draws fish in. But like I say, it's been a little tough this year. We use our thumpers, draw them in. Sometimes they scatter real quick. You have to turn it off and come back in. Use your splasher on the back of your boat. You got a little trolling motor set up. You got splashing. Use your rod. A lot of times that'll bring them in as you're drifting. So that's kind of the gist of it. Really, just I like to look for good creek channels, river channels, deep stuff that's moving up. I try to, if you can get the wind just right, position yourself to where you can kind of drift that channel. My boat, I use a 54-inch drift sock. I try to keep my boat, like I said, about 0.6, 0.7 mile an hour. Right there. If I get a little bit faster, sometimes I might have to add another drift sock. You can go up to a 78-inch drift sock. You can get drift socks, Cabela's, and order them on eBay, Amazon, or basically anywhere has a good boating shop has a drift sock. Add about 50 foot, get it out there a little bit. Like I say, everybody's got a different technique. I normally position my drift sock kind of where it's from the middle of the boat, just kind of pulling me. Like I said, I just want a steady pace. Sometimes if the wind is just really light, you don't even need a drift sock. You get 5 to 8 mile an hour, you might just get a good slow enough drift on your own. But drifting is great. You can cover a lot of water, a lot of area. Sometimes you're lucky enough, the striper will just stay schooled up underneath you, and you can just sit above them, like I say, and just basically just put that fluke right above them. So that's kind of that. Again, turn your motor off whenever we're drifting, things like that. And so like doing that. There's a lot of areas of the lake. Wintertime right now, your fish are going to be working your river areas, your channels. A lot of them, you're doing your pre and post spawn. The dead stick bite really kind of gets going in December. It'll go through February real well. Sometimes, March. You like that 50 degree area on your water temp. It just kind of gets a little bit warmer. Your bites get a little bit more subtle. We just like it because we catch a lot of bigger fish. Of course, you're kind of limited on how many big fish you can catch, but you never know what you're going to have on the end of your line. So I kind of hope I kind of covered what dead sticking is, how we do it, the areas we go to. If you got any questions, don't hesitate. Shoot me a text, shoot me a message, DM me. I'll get back to you when I can. Share this video. Hey, I don't mind shares. And you got any question on baits, what I recommend, shoot me a message, email me, and I'll get back to you. So hope everyone has a good night. Thank you.